land van verlatenheid in die klein Karoo waar die bergwinde waai.
In our modern world, where we live a life completely alienated from the land, you go and buy your things at Pick and Pay, you buy at Woolworths, or you buy wherever you're buying. You're not really part of the process. You're separate from the process. And things are just always there, it's always available. And almost we've lost that understanding where things come from, things come from the shop. But from my point of view of being on the land, we are all dependent. If the sun didn't shine into our system, there'd be no energy at all. We all die. The sun shines into our system, and the trees photosynthesize, and they make all the food on the earth. So we are completely dependent on that system of light shining in, and trees or grass or veggies photosynthesizing and making carbons and making energy. The lesson that I think that we're learning is we're completely dependent. We can't manage by ourselves. Now somehow when we get involved as Christians, one of the things of this alienation that we are experiencing is that in our Christian life, we also think that we are independent. We struggle to get to the place of dependence because we think that we got to come up with everything. Like here you have this amazing thing, you got this relationship with the Lord, but it's all dependent on you. Like you got to have your quiet times, you got to pursue God, you got to do all these things. But me with my small love must pursue God. Isn't it better when God with his big love pursues me? God doesn't mind pursuing us. God doesn't mind giving. That's the system that we live in. We understand the sun shines into our system. It doesn't get tired of shining in. It just shines in every day. It energizes. It makes things live. God is the power. God is the initiator. God is the giver. God is the one who called us. He said, He didn't call me, but I called you, that you may bear fruit, and that your fruit may endure. In the beginning, God gave us a measure of independence. We have a free will. We can choose what we want. But it didn't last as long. We sold that out very fast. Like the devil just came in, took that free will. And then, we understand, we're slaves. We became slaves of sin. And a slave has to obey his master. A slave's got no rights whatsoever. We sold those rights out completely. But somehow in our mind, we think we're going to recover our righteousness outside of redemption. How can we, who sold our rights out, gain it back outside of outside help? But now we sit with this dilemma, in our lives. We swallowed that independence to come to a place of dependence because in our pride and in our arrogance, we somehow think that we can do it, man. Just you have your quiet time. Yeah, we need to have a quiet time, but it's more of a relationship than a quiet time. And the relationship is that, Elohim, the faithful, the one, the strong one, the powerful one, who's faithful, who actually maintains that relationship. He gives into the relationship. He gives enough to keep it going. And there's no guilt trip to saying, he's giving everything. God is all, and God must do all and give all. Yes, there's got to be a response in our hearts. We got to do it, but it's like farming, it's very much like that I've got to do something, I put that seed in the ground. I have to do it, but I understand, I don't make that seed grow. I'm dependent on other systems to make it grow. I'm dependent on the input from outside to make a thing grow. In our lives, we've got so many things competing for our lives. It's not neutral. So in other words, there's no neutral space. Either an outside source is competing for my life. Again, it's outside of me from that side. Or another source from this side is competing for my life. Now, whomever you yield to, It's that side that will actually influence your life. So if you never actually stop and allow God to influence your life, but it's not you getting God to influence your life. God wants to influence your life. I mean, the sun shines into your system. You can put like a shade in that area, and then the sun doesn't shine on that plant. He won't grow. But you can take that, maybe that piece of shade away, it'll grow. But you don't make it grow. And there's no difference, you know. The sun shines on it, it energizes it, it photosynthesizes it, it begins to grow, it gathers minerals, and there it grows. Jesus said, you didn't choose me, but I chose you, that you may bear fruit and your fruit may endure. Of ourselves, we can only fail unless some bigger power and force come into our system and actually redeems us from our bondage and redeems us from our deception. We're going to just continue in the same line, you know. And the book of Romans, it talks about, you know, there's all the laws in the book of Romans, but the one is the law of the mind. The law of the mind is, you know, I know what's good, I know what's right, and I agree with it, you know, but I can't do it, you know. I mean, the thing is, God has provided everything that we need to accomplish that. But our dilemma is our independence. That, you know, the good I want, I do not do. The very thing I hate, I keep on doing. You know, by God's grace, we've got to come to a place of understanding that we are not an accomplished righteousness on our own, you know. I think one of the Psalms put it so nicely. He says, and establish thou the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands, establish thou it. You know, we understand that we need those works established, but we can't establish it. And so there's a cry saying, God, establish thou the work of our hands upon us. And so our lives, you know, as people is a measure of failure. We're disappointed at the failure. And that's the way we learn to get to the success, because, you know, the idea is that we learn to be dependent, that we learn to let God's light shine into our lives. You know, Jesus said, take my yoke upon you, learn of me, because I'm gentle and lowly of heart. So there's that thing of humility, lowly of heart. You know, he says, the Son doesn't do anything of his own, you know. Only what he sees the Father doing. We don't do anything of our own. We only do what the Father doing. We don't even know, some of us know what the Father's doing, you know. Because we're not looking. We're not switched on. We occupied so many places. We got to make time, put some time aside to the Lord. It doesn't mean you got to do much in the time. Just open your heart up. The leaf just stand there and the sun shines on it. Just maybe make sure that there's no shadows in the way, you know. But you're not going to photosynthesize on your own, you know what I mean. You want the full power of the sun to hit you, you know. And if there's anything in the way, get rid of it, you know. If there's something that's blocking the light, just get rid of it. And get the sun to shine nicely. And just wait in that position, you know. Let that life and that energy just come into you. And you don't even know which way it's going to grow, you know. Maybe one leaf will come out here, maybe another leaf will come out there. You're not determining all these things. You're just sitting, you know, and let God's life that is in you be energized by receiving that light. And the growth is automatic. You can't make it grow. Like the same, I can't make any of these things grow. The problem is so often, you know, we go in there with an agenda, you know. We go to God with an agenda, you know. We want this and that and that and that and that done. We're not in a receptive mode. We're in a business mode, you know. Like, you know, God, here's my list, you know, they're the things that God's saying, no, just put your list away a bit, you know, and just enjoy the sunshine, you know, enjoy the light, enjoy God's goodness, enjoy his abundance. We maybe go through a time when that light doesn't shine into our lives. The whole plant just withers, you know, and we wither, you know, we grow weary, we grow tired, and eventually, I guess, sometimes we don't even know, you know, if we keep neglect, eventually we will lose so much life that our response to that light is so slow. I guess the quality of life in the plant is now so low that the input of the sun, there's not enough chlorophyll, there's not enough anything just to respond. We need to just stay in a place, you know, where God can God's light can shine into our life. On the land, that sense of dependence becomes very real, because everything that you work with every day, there's an unpredictability to all these things. You can't say you're going to have a good year. There's also a learning in it, that God's got a way. And the problem is that we impose our own wisdom onto God's way. I mean, a good lesson is when there's a plant that you're not looking after at all and it's prospering. Then you get another plant you're looking after and actually dying. So how's it possible that something you look after so well is dying, and something that you're not looking after at all is really prospering? That's when you have to begin to ask the question and saying, man, why is this thing that I never water, never look after, doing well, and this thing that I'm spoiling is actually dying? What am I doing wrong? It's a deep question to ask. Some of the things in our lives that we're working so hard on, they're failing, And some of the things, when we're not looking, we're reaping our harvest from those areas. God's looking after those areas, and when He looks after it, they're prospering. But when we get our hands in there and we haven't learned the rules, we haven't learned to actually observe, to look, just to look and to see, how does God do it, And so there's a painful road, a road of failure, as a Christian. You fail miserably, And that failure is part of our life of dependence, If a man fails, but he doesn't lose his relationship with God, but he can maintain it, then that failure actually becomes a blessing in the end of the day. Because out of that failure, he's going to be able to strengthen other people experiencing the same area of failure, some of the horrible areas of failure. When God is finished with that area, you'll never be the same again. You'll never continue in that same thing again, because it's been hard, it's hard learning. It's hard learning to not to do things out of our own resources, out of our own strength. It's hard to learn that we got to be fed by bacteria, You're not feeding yourself, you're feeding bacteria, they're feeding you, We can't feed ourselves. We have to be fed by a system that God's created. And so I guess that's a lesson for me, looking at the natural processes in which we live every day.
Most ancient of all mysteries, before thy throne we lie. Have mercy now, most merciful, most holy Trinity. When heaven and earth was yet unmade, when time was still unknown, thou in thy blessed majesty didst live and love alone. Thou wast not born, there was no fount from which thy being flowed. There is no end which thou canst reach, but thou wast simply God. How wonderful creation is, the work which thou didst bless. And know what then must thou be like, eternal loveliness. Have mercy on us, God most high, who draw our hearts to thee. Have mercy on us, worms of earth, most holy Trinity. Most ancient of all mysteries, still at thy throne we lie. Have mercy still, most merciful, most holy Trinity.